Hello everyone, my name is Daryl and welcome to my little corner of the internet. I hope you've all been having a wonderful day, and if not, I'm sorry to hear that, but hopefully I can make it a little bit better. And I think I will, because I have some great news. I completed my first 5 nights at Freddy's marathon. That's right, a marathon of every Fnaf game. I played every Fnaf back to back in one stream. Well, I tried to, at least. Needless to say, it was very pleasant. It was pleasant. Now, for those of you who don't know, what is a Fnaf marathon? Or even a gaming marathon for that matter? Well, according to Instinct.gg, gaming marathons are long hours spent in front of a screen and can be exciting and fun for gamers, but also exhausting. Okay, we'll just sit down, try this out. Okay, I'm ready. Oh, whoa, oh, heck yeah, yeah, woohoo, yeah. Oh, wow, this is way better than I thought, actually. Dang, and look at the time. It's already been like 4 hours. Holy cow. You know, now that I think of it, I am feeling a little but also exhausting. You know, I just now realized that this is a very weird blanket. It's the first one I saw, so I just grabbed it, but it's a wolf. Rawr. Anyways. But yeah, it's basically just doing a long gaming session, and in my case, it means beating every Fnaf game in the series in one sitting. And naturally, I had to stream it so everyone could see how awesome I am at beating games. And because I get a little lonely at times. Okay, so it was mostly because I was getting lonely. But you can fix that by going to my Twitch. I guess I should point to the Twitch sign that's actually here. Go to my Twitch. Huh? Link in the description. Also, as you might have noticed by looking at the length of the video, that this is a long video. So buckle in. I'll be explaining the strats I used to complete each game as I go through this, which is why the video ended up being so long. But I will have each game timestamped. So if you want to skip to a certain game or a certain section during the marathon, you know, feel free to do that. Or if you're really cool, just watch the whole video. Are you really cool? I guess we'll see. Now, I know what you're thinking. Daryl, why did you decide to do this? And can you please go into excruciating detail on how you were able to do this? And don't worry, I've got you covered. It all began in the summer of 2014 when a small indie game was released called 5 Nights at... Just kidding, we're not doing that. Basically, one of my chatters mentioned it to me and I was like, all right. So I made a list of the games I was going to include in the marathon, which ended up being FNAFs 1 through 4, Sister Location, Pizzeria Simulator, Ultimate Custom Night or UCN, Help Wanted, Security Breach Ruin, which is the DLC, and Help Wanted 2. I also count beating the game as in just completing night 5, or just getting one of the endings in the games. Just because I'm not insane enough to do the all 20 modes, which is basically like setting the game to like nightmare difficulty and trying to beat them. I'm not good enough for that, so we're only beating night 5. But after having those boundaries set of just beating one ending and beating night 5 on the games that have those kind of conditions respectively, and spending literal hours trying to figure out how the heck live split works, because like I don't know if you guys have used live split before, but it is confusing to look at. I had to watch like so many videos just to try and figure out how the heck that works, and I still have no idea, but Yeah, I got it to work and it's fine. It's fine. But after that, it was time to start practicing. And so I began the long journey of practicing all the games. Also on stream because, you know, I'm a lonely boy. And I made a slight mistake. I had the brilliant idea of just playing the games on stream with no previous practice or knowledge on how to actually beat the games consistently. Like, I've been playing these games since they were released, like, since I was a little boy, back in 6th grade. I think I was 12 when the first game came out. I was 11 or 12. So I've been playing these a lot. For half my life, but I forgot how bad I actually was at beating the games. It's like I can play them, but beating them is another story. Something I realized during my first stream of practice, because I couldn't even beat Night 5 on Fnaf 1, on the first game. I couldn't even complete the win condition that I was trying to meet. That's how trash I was, to put it lightly. And not only that, but I agreed to restart my run once I died for the first time on Night 5. So during those streams, not only was I struggling to reach Night 5 and try and beat it, but once I reached Night 5, I had to restart the whole process of getting back to Night 5. It was fun. It was fun. It was terrible. It was so bad. It was. Please help me. Oh, and did I mention that I actually died on Night 1? Yeah, no, I died on Night 1 in FNAF 1 to Bonnie, I think, or his Chica. I don't even remember. I'll show it here. Yeah, no, I died. Yeah. There's little hope for me. And I think it goes without saying, I did not beat FNAF 1 before I decided to end stream. Now, a normal person at this point would do some research or watch some videos on like how to beat the games, right? Well, not me, because I'm stubborn and lazy. The two best qualities to have when trying to do something that takes effort and determination. So I just started playing the second game without preparing, again, and agreeing to restart if I died on Night 5 again. But at least this time I was actually able to beat the game, because FNAF 2 luckily is a very easy game to beat. If you've played it, you know what I'm talking about. So that's an improvement, right? Right? I basically continued this pattern for FNAF 3 as well, without practicing at all the way to Pizzeria Simulator. Except I stopped resetting at Night 5 because it was just too painful. Then it was Ultimate Custom Night's turn. Now, UCN is the most difficult game in the series, in my opinion. I don't know if people share that sentiment, but like, it's rough. It's a rough game. Now, this game doesn't have nights to it, so it's a little more difficult to decide what beating the game actually means. I had a few options here. So I can count getting the final cutscene in the game as beating it, which you get cutscenes based on how high of a score you get, and the more animatronics you have active with a higher level active determines how many points you get, if that makes sense. Another option is to beat the game at 50 in 20 mode. I'll say it again, 50 20 mode, as in there are 50 animatronics in this game and you're setting them all to max. Which no, I'm not doing that one. Then there's a comparatively much easier and achievable option, which is to beat all of the challenge modes in the game, which, you know, given the option between a nightmare, which is getting the final cutscene, or a very hard and scary nightmare, which is getting 50-20 completed, and just like a kind of a spooky little, like a spooky dream, like you wake up from before anything like bad actually happens in the dream. Obviously I was going to pick the spooky option. So I started practicing the challenge modes, which for those of you who don't know, they are just preset loadouts basically that you pick and then you complete the night. And it gives you this cute little star when you beat them, that's pretty cool. You know, that makes me happy to see a full just column of stars, you know? So that's my main motivation for why I chose to do the challenge mode actually. And for those of you who don't know, there are 16 challenge modes in here. And each one lasts for 4.5 minutes. That's how long the nights are in the game. Okay, and we'll just punch in some numbers here. Just do 16 times 4.5. Yeah, this one's gonna take a while. And it did take a while to practice. Days, in fact. I even did something that I've never done before. Okay, come here. I actually watched videos and took notes for how to beat these ones. Yeah, I know. It's crazy. See? Well, I guess I'll just zoom in. See? Notes. Sticky notes. All of them. A lot of notes. And before you ask, yes, this angelic handwriting that you see in front of you is indeed mine. Thank you. And as it turns out, learning how to beat the game actually helps you to beat the game. And again, for those of you who are curious what the notes I took are, or the strats I'm going to be using, again, I'll be going over those when I cover the actual marathon day. But to put it lightly, I, as gamers like to say, got good. Yeah, I'm cool. So after beating UCN, I decided to go back and take notes on the other games as well, because apparently, yeah, it helped me a lot. It helped me a lot. Now I only had Help Wanted, Security Breach Ruin, and Help Wanted 2 to practice, which I crushed those games easy peasy, like destroyed them. I didn't even need to look up a video on how to beat Security Breach. Okay, I have that bad boy 100%ed. I have spent too much time playing that game actually, but at least it comes in handy in very specific scenarios like this one. So were those hours of my life worth it? Yeah. Yes they were. Yeah, honestly, those group of games, like the more modern ones from Fnaf, are actually pretty easy to beat because they are like aimed more at children, I want to say. So it's not too hard to learn how to beat those ones on your own. Like there's a few tricks here and there, but you don't even need to use those honestly to beat them efficiently. Now, after doing all those practice streams, I can add up the times from those streams to get like a rough estimation of how long the actual marathon is going to be. And you know, like I feel like I did pretty well during the streams. You know, like the streams weren't even that long. Like I expected them to be longer. It's like maybe 8 or like 10 hours. One day, 2 hours and 45 minutes. Holy guacamole. Yeah, that that is a long butt time. You know, that is a long butt time. Sorry, I don't swear. I hope that's okay. Like even taking off about 30 minutes on each game, and completely removing Security Breach Ruin because it is a DLC and not really like its own standalone game, it would still come out to be 19 hours long. Is it too late to go back? Yes, it is. So I woke up at 6 a.m. on a Saturday, sleepy as heck, and started stream at 8:11. And since I already have the exhausted part covered for the marathon, all that was left was to spend long hours in front of a screen and get excited for some fun. And excited I was. I even used all caps in my stream title to show that I wouldn't even end stream under any circumstances until I beat this challenge. Now, I did change the rules slightly from what I said before. I kept the same qualifications for beating the games. However, I did actually end up getting rid of Security Breach Ruin. So my estimated time was just a tad, you know, just like a little bit less daunting for me, since this is my first time doing a marathon. And before you start yelling at me, I think it's valid because I also didn't do Curse of Dreadbear, which is a DLC for Help Wanted. So I'm just doing it for consistency. Okay, it's just for consistency and not because I'm scared of how long the stream is gonna be. Okay, I promise. Oh, and right before starting, chat did decide that I should give Bonnie a smooch. Bonnie as in this Bonnie right here. Chat decided that I should give my little Bonnie a smooch every time that I died, because I was keeping track of my deaths. So I agreed to do that whenever I remembered to. So with that out of the way, and with my newfound strategy of not dying on night 1, I was able to beat the first game with ease. The strategy for beating nights 1 through 5 is actually pretty simple for the first FNAF, but it can also be like very boring, honestly, because there's essentially just one pattern that you're following over and over throughout the entire night with like very minor variations to it that you honestly don't even need to do, but you can do if you get too bored. So basically the pattern you're taking is flashing a door. It doesn't matter which one you start with. I start with the left door, so it's going left to right, but you flash a door, check your cameras real quick, and then check the right door, and then check your cams again, and then go back to the left door and just repeat that cycle back and forth over and over for, 40 minutes straight is basically what you're doing for the game. That's how you beat it. Like every night you do the same pattern as well. So it gets, like I said, it can get very boring, but pretty cool that like you're able to beat the nights honestly by doing this. And if you want to be super tight with your timing on the cams, just to like save power and stuff, you can wait until the first frame that you can see the map icon for all the cameras, or you can look for like Freddy's nose or something that's easy to see on the cameras. And right as you see that, just flip the cameras back down, and that's all you need to do. So yeah, once you have the pattern, just checking a light really quick, doing the quick camera flick, checking another light, doing the quick camera flick over and over. The rest of the game is actually pretty simple. If Bonnie or Chica is at the door, you just close it immediately and then keep doing the pattern. And then once they leave, you open the door. Everyone knows this. You close the door to keep them out, and you open it when they're not there because it wastes power. There's like little tips that you don't need to know, but help sometimes. For example, if there's like pots and pans in the kitchen, you don't need to check the right door because Chica is in the kitchen making that noise, meaning she's not at the door, so you don't need to check it. Another tip is like Chica can only move to nearby cameras. So if she's in the kitchen, you know that she's a couple moves away from the door. And then Bonnie can teleport, so he can show up at the door without warning whenever he wants. Freddy's laugh means that he moved a camera, and he moves in a predetermined pattern. So as long as you like memorize his pattern, then you can just listen for his laughs and know where he is without like frantically searching through all the cams. And the reason why I'm checking the cameras so much is because it stalls both Freddy and Foxy from making any moves, basically. Foxy can't come out of his cove to kill us, and Freddy can't move to his next location, as long as you're checking the cameras every like 4 to 5 seconds. The cameras also don't have to be looking at Foxy to stall Foxy from moving either, which is why I just keep it on the stage and just looking at Freddy. And if Chica or Bonnie is still at the stage, obviously there's no reason to check their doors because they're at the stage. There's no way they're at the doors yet. And if you ever get down to like 6% on any of the nights, usually I get down to 6% on the 5th night. What you want to do is just check the cams one more time real quick and then leave both doors open. Don't do anything. Don't check the lights. And just sit in the office, and as long as you've been stalling Foxy and Freddy the whole night, then you will be able to survive until the end of the night. This works like most of the time. So like if you're late into 5 a.m. and you're at 6% power, you should be able to reach the end of the night with enough power. At least it did for me. So I don't know, maybe I just got lucky. But it seems to work. It might seem like a lot to take in at first. I know it was for me, but like once I practiced, I was able to figure it out after a couple nights. Like it doesn't take too long to figure out the pattern. So if you guys feel like trying out that strat too, it shouldn't be too bad. And if you guys end up dying still somehow, it's not my fault. So, with all of that in mind, I was able to crush the game, and with 0 deaths, giving me a final time of 46 minutes and 6 seconds, which was 58 minutes faster, so a 58-minute time save, than my previous best, which put me ahead of my estimations by a long shot. And, you know, this is great. You know, as long as I keep up this momentum, like nothing could go wrong, and it'll end up being like a really clean run. So I moved on to Fnaf 2.
Hello.
And Fnaf 2 is actually like pretty fun, honestly. Even though it's one of like the easiest installations in the series, like it's very fun still. Similar to Fnaf 1, there is like a basic pattern that completely carries you nights 1 through 5 without like much variation at all. So in Fnaf 2, you don't have to close any doors. I mean, there are no doors, so good luck with that if you want to close any. But instead, you have 2 vents on either side of you and a hallway in front of you. You have some lights, a flashlight, and a Freddy mask, as well as the camera system. Some animatronics will come through the vents, and others can come through the hallway. Whenever there's an animatronic in the vent and about to enter the room, which you can see by flashing the vents, then you can put on the Freddy mask until you hear vent noises indicating that they left. Animatronics that can be in the vents are Toy Chica and Balloon Boy in the left vent, and then Toy Bonnie and Mangle in the right vent. When an animatronic enters the room, you have a very short time frame to put on the mask, but if you move fast enough, you won't be killed. Animatronics that can enter the room from the hallway are Toy Freddy, Withered Bonnie, and Withered Chica. There's also Withered Foxy, who can't be deterred by the Freddy mask like every other animatronic. So whenever he does show up in the hallway, you just need to flash your light on him long enough that he despawns. And finally, there's Marionette, or Puppet, or Charlie, whichever you prefer to call him. But I like to say Marionette, so I'll be saying that for the rest of the video. He will kill you if his music box fully unwinds. So you need to frequently check the cams to keep it wound up. With all these animatronics in mind, the strategy I use is to go to cam 11 at the start of the night, which is the Marionette's camera, and just leave it there. Don't change off of it. Then do a panning motion from the left to the right of the room, meaning that I check the left vent, flash the hallway, then check the right vent. Then I flip up the cameras, wind up the music box, immediately put on and off the mask, and then repeat the pattern. And this is the basic pattern that I used throughout the whole game. And like I said before, if there's an animatronic in the vents, I put on the mask until they leave. And if Foxy is in the hallway, I continue the pattern and just flash the hallway about 4 to 5 times instead of just once. And that'll make Foxy go away. And then once Foxy does leave, go back to just flashing the hallway once like before. Following this pattern throughout the game pretty much guarantees a no death run, honestly, with a couple changes here and there that you need to make. For example, when you wind up the music box, only do about 8 ticks. And if the music box isn't wound up after that, like, it's okay. Don't panic, because you can cycle through checking the vents in the hallway pretty quickly. So the music box should never run out. On night 5, only do 6 to 7 ticks because the animatronics are more active. They can attack you while the monitor is up. Also, if you ever hear radio static and Mangle isn't in the cameras in Marionette's room, this means that Mangle is either on the ceiling in your room or she's in the right vent. And if she's not in the cameras or on the ceiling, she's in the right vent, which means just put on the mask until you hear the radio, which means that he left, and then you can go back to the pattern you were doing before. The animatronics can pull down your cams at any moment as well, so always be ready to flick on the mask if that happens. There's a very small window to put on the mask when an animatronic enters your room, so you got to move very fast, very quickly. And if there's an animatronic in the room while you have the mask on, you're not able to actually take off the mask until it's safe. So if you have the mask on, there's an animatronic like glitching the lights out in front of you, just keep your cursor on the mask button and it'll take it off as soon as it's safe. So you don't have to worry about the timing on that. And that's pretty much all there is to it, honestly. So jumping into the game, I followed this strategy, and as you guys can see, it ended up being a very clean run, just like the first game. I had a couple close calls, like a night 4, where I was almost too slow to react to Chica pulling down my monitor, but luckily I didn't die from it somehow. So I was able to complete FNAF 2 with 0 deaths as well, giving me a final time of 39 minutes and 34 seconds. Which is a 1 hour, 18 minute, and 15 second time save, and 0 deaths for the marathon as a whole. Just crazy. Now, we got some good old FNAF 3. Good old friendly, easy, fair, and balanced FNAF 3. I hate this game. For those of you who don't know, for some reason, this game can either be extremely easy or it can be the bane of your existence. On paper, the strategy to beat this is pretty simple. You know, you just bring him to cam 10 and then you lock vent 14. But oh boy, is it rough to do that. Not only do you have to manage Springtrap and do your best to keep him in one spot using an audio alert whenever he leaves, which will pull him back to the camera. You also need to be constantly resetting your systems, otherwise you'll lose very quickly. There's 3 systems that you need to manage: audio alert, camera system, and your ventilation. Each of which dies pretty fast and dies increasingly quicker the further you get into the game. So you need to be resetting them as quick as you can as well. The order I do them is audio, vents, then cams, and then just repeat that. If there's ever 2 or more out at a time, I just reset all at that point. It's not worth doing one at a time. You just do them all. Just wait that extra time and hope that it works out, you know? While you're resetting a system, you also can't lower the monitor, which gives Springtrap time to move, which, you know, is not good. This already sucks enough because of how like quickly Springtrap moves during later nights in the game. And he's very difficult to see on the cameras unless you know where to look. But there is another twist to this game that makes this extremely rage-inducing for me. And that is the phantoms. These phantoms can't kill you, but if they do jump scare you, they immediately break one of your systems and you have to go to reset them, completely letting Springtrap just run around as much as he wants in the meantime. This can quickly lead to you getting killed because you reacted just half a second too slow to a phantom once. This usually gets me upset. Then I tried playing the night again, only for the exact same thing to happen over and over. And then I rage, you know? So the strategy for this is you basically try to keep Springtrap at camera 10. And like I said, if he happens to slip away, either drag him back to that camera using the audio lure, or you trap him at a different camera and lock the vent that's by that camera. And avoiding the phantoms can actually be fairly easy if you know how to do it. I didn't for the longest time, which is why they pissed me off so bad. But there is a way you can actually fight off these ghosts. Basically, some of the phantoms can show up in the cameras. So when you pull up the cameras, you can pull them up really quick, lower them immediately, and then lift them back up, which will guarantee that a phantom won't be there. Or you can click onto a different camera and then click back onto the one you want to actually be at. That will also despawn. Or you just simply click onto the same cam that you're currently at, and that will reload it and get rid of the phantom as well, which is honestly the best way to do it. So Phantom Freddy can show up in the hallway behind us, but as long as we don't stare at him, he won't jump scare us, so he's not that bad. And if he is active, just make sure to pan between the cameras and the maintenance module quickly, and he won't jump scare you. Lastly, there's Phantom Foxy. He sits between the maintenance panel and the camera panel, and if you pan over him, he jump scares you. To avoid him, just move slowly to the left after cams, and if you see that he's there, just pull up the cams quickly and then pull them back down, and then he'll be gone. And then you can go to the maintenance panel safely. Now, this game definitely takes some practice to get used to. It took me a minute to figure out how to beat this, because it's just so much different than the first two games. And it actually just took me like hours of just raging to actually get good enough to beat this game consistently. And usually I die about like 5 times or so before I can beat the game. But somehow during this marathon specifically, the gods must have been smiling down on me, because I managed to get 0 deaths. 0. Which is insane. Like I've never done that before. I was super hyped when I pulled that off. And that alone made all the practice worth it. So with a time of 32 minutes and 3 seconds, that gave me another time save of 52 minutes and 32 seconds. You know, pretty good. That's pretty good. Moving on to Fnaf 4, this is a really solid game. Being the spookiest game in the series by a long shot, I was pretty scared to spend hours practicing this one, honestly. But this game is one that I hold closest to my heart, and is the main reason why I love Fnaf as a series so much. Because when I was a kid, I wasn't allowed to buy or really play any of the games, because I grew up in a Christian household and my parents thought it was demonic, so I wasn't allowed to play them. So, breaking the rules, which hopefully my parents aren't watching this. If you are, I didn't do anything wrong, but also I instead just spent hours playing the Fnaf 4 demo on my phone, never being able to beat night 2, which is when the demo actually ends anyways. But I was never even able to beat night 2 because I got too scared. But that was all about to change. I had to make my younger self proud by absolutely clapping this game. And clapped it, I did. Beating this game is a little more tricky than the others, in my opinion, but it's still really fun. I needed a good pair of closed ear headphones, so I had to use my girlfriend's, and I needed a pretty quiet room with my volume turned up really loud. It sucks, but my ears can live through the pain if it means I get to beat the marathon quicker. Each night starts with a little interactable cutscene where you play as the crying kid and basically walk around until you cry on the floor. That cutscene is then followed up by a plush trap minigame, excluding the first night. This minigame lets you skip to 2 a.m. on the following night if you're able to get Plush Trap on the red X that's in front of you. The way you stop him is by flashing the light, and whenever the light is off, he starts to move closer to you. You flash too much and the time will run out, and if you don't flash, he will kill you. There is a strat that gives you a guaranteed win every time on this, however. As Plush Trap moves around, he will either make a footstep sound or a scurry sound, and these let you know how close he is to you. So at the start of the minigame, wait in the dark and just listen. You will hear footsteps, and then a scurry, and then more footsteps, and then another scurry. Then the second that another footstep sound starts playing, you flash and Springtrap will always be on the X. And this works every time this minigame shows up, which makes this minigame basically a guaranteed 2-hour skip for every night. And you know, that's pretty neat. Whether you win or lose, the actual night starts after this. And during the nights, there are 4 animatronics that you are fending off: Nightmare Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and Freddy. During night 1, only Bonnie, Chica, and Freddy are active, so I'll talk about them first. What I'm doing here is following a pattern of checking the left door, the right door, and then the bed, with the left door being Bonnie's door and the right one being Chica's. And then the bed is where Freddy is, or rather the Freddles that spawn in Freddy. To fend off both Bonnie and Chica, you run to the door and listen for about 5 seconds for any breathing noises. And if there is breathing, then you close the door and keep it closed until you hear faint footsteps outside the door, which is why you need your volume really high. Once that sound plays, you can open the door and then flash the hallway before moving on to the next door or the bed, whichever is next in the pattern. If there isn't any breathing, then you flash the hallway and then move on to the next thing. When you're at the bed, you flash your light until the Freddles all duck away, then that will stop Freddy from spawning and killing you. If you flash the doorways when Bonnie or Chica are breathing, as well as not checking the doors often enough, or if you don't flash the bed for a while, you will die. So you have to move quickly between each spot and not freeze up from fear, which is something that I did a lot while practicing, if I'm being honest. But after finding out that just looking away from the screen helps me to not get as scared of dying, and helps me to listen more, I was able to learn this pattern pretty quickly, which again is going to the left door, right door, bed, and repeating. Starting on night 2, Foxy will be active, and he is the reason why this game can be difficult at times. Throughout the nights, Foxy will run back and forth between the left and right hallways, and if he gets into the room, he enters into the closet, which is indicated by the closet door moving, and then you have to check on Foxy for the rest of that night, making everything a lot more stressful and increases your chances of dying by a lot. When in the closet, you need to run up to it and close the doors, and the longer they're closed, the further back Foxy gets pushed. He has different stages inside the closet before killing you, and his safest stage is when he's a plush. So I keep the door closed long enough to keep him as a plush, because that's the safest state he can be in. This means that you are at the closet for about 8 to 10 seconds, however, which is why you can die a lot easier than if he wasn't in the room at all, because it gives time for the other animatronics to move. Luckily, there is a way to stop Foxy, but it requires you to listen very closely. While playing the night like normal, you will be listening for Foxy's footsteps and which direction they are heading towards. If he heads in a direction twice, or instead of the noise panning between both ears and only plays from one direction, that means he's at that door, and you should check it immediately. Then flash it when it's safe. If done correctly, you'll see Foxy duck away at the end of the hallway, which resets him back into running between the halls. If you check the incorrect door when he's at a door, he will run into the closet. If this happens, you need to follow a new pattern, which is door, bed, door, closet, repeat. Now, with all these strategies in mind, we have to completely ditch them for night 5, which has none of the 4 animatronics, and instead just has one. Nightmare Fredbear. This night is actually much easier than night 4 for me, because once you know the pattern for how Fredbear moves, it becomes pretty simple to beat him if you're listening carefully. During the night, Fredbear will run between the hallways like Foxy, and you just wait and listen to the footsteps. If the footsteps go to one side and Fredbear doesn't run again after 3 seconds, you go to that door and immediately flash it to see if Fredbear is there. If he isn't, or the footsteps start playing again, go back to listening or check the other door fast. If you see him in the hallway, close the door until you hear footsteps again, and run back to the middle of the room and just repeat that cycle. Fredbear will occasionally laugh through the night, but there are real laughs as well as fake ones. If it's a fake laugh, you just ignore it, and if it's a real laugh, you flip around to flash the bed, and if Fredbear's head is there, you keep flashing it until he leaves. But if he isn't there, you run to the closet and close it without checking it. And you hold it closed until you hear footsteps again. Then you go back to listening in the room. If it's a fake laugh, there will be footsteps during or close to the laugh. But if it's a real laugh, there won't be footsteps around the laugh. And that's it for night 5. It's pretty simple, honestly. And with that, we can go over my stats for the run. I had no deaths on night 1 and was playing pretty chill and not paying attention too much. And during night 2, I made it all the way to 5 a.m. and I messed up. So I knew I was going to die to Chica. Just kidding. It was Bonnie. To which I had to restart the whole night, and I lost my 2-hour head start from Plush Trap. This was only my first death for the stream, so I honestly wasn't too upset about it. I beat night 2, then headed into night 3 after successfully getting the Plush Trap skip again, giving me the 2-hour head start, which I was hoping I would make up for the time I lost from dying. Which I did, and moved on to night 4 pretty quickly. I was hoping I'd be able to beat this night quickly as well, but after mishearing some footsteps from Bonnie, I opened the door too early and died again. But I was able to beat this night on my second try, managing to fend off Foxy while still reading chat when I should be putting my full focus into the game. All that's left now is night 5, which I can beat very consistently, so I wasn't too worried going into it. After successfully crushing Fredbear, I had beaten the game, giving me 2 deaths in total, making a really good time of 43 minutes and 8 seconds, saving another 33 minutes and 37 seconds. Next up was Sister Location.
Shh, be still and quiet.
Easily one of, if not my least favorite Fnaf game. Don't get me wrong, like the setting is cool. The idea of having different mechanics each night is really fun. And the story that this game sets up for the rest of the franchise is awesome. But the pacing is just so slow. Like this game doesn't take longer than the previous 4. It's about the same runtime. But there's just so much waiting and listening to unskippable dialogue throughout the game that I just get like impatient and end up hating it by the end, like by the time I beat it. Like, I don't know if you guys feel the same about this or if this is just like a complaint I have, but this game feels like it just goes on forever. Anyway, if you couldn't tell by that little rant, Sister Location plays a little bit differently than the other games, with each of the 5 nights being completely different from each other. So, hopping straight into the game, I start in the elevator and go through this vent that leads into a maintenance room with some controls panels on either side of me. I follow the voice man's, voice until I finish the night, which on this night it's also impossible to die, so it's an easy win. After spending the night munching on some popcorn, I head back in for night 2. I go down the elevator, through the vent, then following the voice guy's instructions, similar to the previous night. This time, however, in Circus Baby's room, the system needs to reset. And while it's resetting, Baby instructs me that I need to hide in a cubby under the desk, where these little baby animatronics called Biddy Babs try to get to me and kill me. To keep them from getting to me, I just hold this cover closed by clicking and holding on the right side of it at all times, and if it moves, I move with it. Eventually they give up and leave. Then we leave as well, back to the main office area where we're instructed to go through Ballor's gallery to get to the breaker room. While in Ballor's gallery, she can hear when you move. And if you move too much, she kills you. So what I do is basically run until her music plays decently loud. Then I wait for it to stop, and then I run again, over and over until I get to the door. But after trying this on stream, I ended up dying because I had the volume too quiet. And I tried a different strat that chat brought to my attention, which is just spamming W the whole time, and I figured, why not try it? So after giving Bonnie another smooch, I got my spam finger warmed up and went for it. And it worked. Now that I'm in the breaker room, I have to deal with Funtime Freddy. He moves whenever I have the monitor up, but I need to lift the monitor in order to reset the breakers. Luckily, there is audio that you can play of Bonnet calming Freddy down, which lowers the danger level and moves Freddy back to his stage. So what I did here was I charged up a breaker for about 40% at one time, and then I lowered the cams to spam the audio until the danger level went back to green, and if he was too close, I pushed him back to the stage. It's a long process, but I eventually did it after about 6 minutes, then headed back through Ballor's gallery, which I ran through because she doesn't actually kill you on the way back, and I ended the night with some more popcorn. Night 3, we end up going into Funtime Foxy's area, and they're pretty simple to get past. What I do is I run 6 to 7 steps forward, then flash, and if Foxy isn't there, I run another 6 to 7 steps, and then flash again. If Foxy is there, I keep flashing until they leave, then I go back to running. Repeating this pattern will get you to the maintenance room every time, and once in the maintenance room, I need to click certain buttons on Freddy's face to open his face up, and the sequence for this is just pressing a button on his right cheek, then his left cheek, his right eye, then above his nose, opening his faceplate. Then after his faceplate is open, there is another button on the bottom of his right chin on the endoskeleton. Pressing that opens his stomach, where I grab his sound disc and then wait in the bottom left corner so Bon Bon has time to spawn in over Freddy's left shoulder. I wait for him to be far enough out to where I can click his button and then send them to the scooping room. I then sprint back where there's a scripted death with Funtime Foxy. This immediately puts you into night 4, which is easily the hardest and most frustrating night in the game. After a lot of talking, you find out that you're in a spring-locked suit, and if any of the locks unwind all the way, you die. Once the locks activate and start unwinding, I need to last 3 minutes, which sounds like a short time, but it's just barely too long in a lot of instances. So, as I'm winding up the locks, Minarinas are pouring into the suit. It's safe to ignore these on the bottom of the screen, but there are 2 that climb up on the sides that are very important to pay attention to. As I'm winding up the locks, I need to watch those 2 Minarinas. And once the one on the right gets high enough to where its head goes out of view, I wiggle 4 times, which is just pressing A, D, to knock them off. I have to wait as long as possible to shake them off because every wiggle makes the spring locks unwind a few ticks. The best way I found to keep an eye on the Minarinas is to go from the top left of the spring locks to the bottom left, then go from the bottom right to the top right. I also had a stopwatch out, which I highly recommend, so I can watch the time. Because around 45 seconds left, I only wind up the spring locks about 3/4 or even half of the way, because they just unwind a lot quicker. Then at 15 seconds left, I only wind them to half. Then the last 10 seconds, I just go through them quickly to make sure nothing unwinds completely. Basically a panic at the last 10 seconds. Following this strategy, I still mess up a lot in the last few seconds. And on my first attempt on stream, I actually ended up dying with 5 seconds left. Giving it a second try, I died even sooner and got stuck in the minigame that can happen whenever you die. But I didn't want to do this, so I quickly tested Baby's fall damage, which doesn't look to be too good. Then I went in for another attempt, this time actually beating it. I died a lot less than I expected to on this one, honestly. So I was pretty proud of myself. Night 5 is pretty easy as well. So after munching on popcorn one more time, I got to the elevator and got started. I go through Funtime Foxy's area again. This time I can just sprint through because they're not in there. And we come up on Circus Baby. Similar to Freddy, we're just taking out her disc. So I click a button on her right cheek, then follow the number sequence that she gives me, typing it in on this little numpad. After successfully doing that, I take the chip from her left arm and send her to the scooping room. After that, we follow Baby's instructions and make it to the scooping room where the game ends and I take my time. And after only dying 3 times, I got a time of 56 minutes and 54 seconds with a time save of 34 minutes and 43 seconds. And 5 deaths for the entire marathon so far, which is awesome. Like I can't complain about that at all, especially compared to the numbers I was pulling before the marathon. And if you haven't played Sister Location before, you know that the Belore section can be like a nightmare at times. So honestly, I'm just really glad that I did well on that part. Anyway, moving on to Pizzeria Simulator.
Congratulations on completing your first day. However, your job isn't over just yet.
This one was pretty much a walk in the park. Like it's really hard to actually mess up on this game, honestly. I was just getting the mediocrity ending during this, which is basically just doing nothing, ending the days as soon as they start, and also getting a 0 Faz rating score by the end of the game. So that's pretty cool. You do end up getting fired. I will say that, a little bit of a disclaimer. You do end up getting fired at the end of the game, but you do get this certificate at the end. So that's pretty neat. And to go into as much like depth as I can, there's 6 days in this game to go through, Monday to Saturday, with each day starting with you buying supplies, accepting sponsors if you like, and playing arcade games that you bought, which increases your Faz rating, can get you more money, or dive into that sweet, sweet lore. Then at night, you complete different tasks on the computer by clicking and waiting, while also making sure that you don't get killed by anything. Then you have an option to salvage animatronics that you find in the alleyway, like Molten Freddy, Afton, Scrap Baby, and Lefty. Or you can just throw them back into the alley and not get any extra money. Then the cycle continues for every new day. But we won't be doing any of that. So at the start of the first day, the only thing I do is buy the sanitation station. Then I accept a sponsor and end the day immediately. I do all the tasks and log off, then reject the salvage immediately as well. Then I move on to the next day where I don't buy anything and accept another sponsor. I'm accepting the sponsors, by the way, so at the end of the day, I can buy upgrades, which make me do the tasks faster. I finish Tuesday the same way as Monday, then accept one last sponsor on Wednesday that lets me get the rest of the upgrades, so I can ignore the rest of them for the rest of the run now. I just kept doing the same thing until I beat the game and got my certificate, and ended with a time of 21 minutes and 19 seconds. Which was a huge time save of 1 hour, 5 minutes, and 53 seconds. At this point, I was 4 hours into the run overall. And I took a well-deserved break to eat some salad and watch the Minecraft movie trailer. And after washing my eyes out with bleach to erase the image of whatever the heck this is, I was ready to continue the run.
Arr, I came for ye booty. That be treasure, you know.
With only being 4 hours into the run and only 4 games left, I should be done pretty quickly, right? Yeah, nothing could go wrong now. I'll just get UCN pulled up and my internet went out and crashed stream. you know what, it's fine. I'll just get it pulled up again and act like that didn't happen. Otherwise my stream title would be a lie. Okay, good thing this was just an anomaly and definitely won't happen again. Also, I noticed this while editing and I have to mention it. My Bonnie plush all of a sudden decided to like lean into frame. So he's sort of just like chilling there and staring into the camera. Now, as you can probably guess from looking at the menu for this game, there's a lot to it. And it can be pretty confusing to look at if you're unfamiliar with the game. So, to avoid spending literally half an hour explaining how to beat this game, I'll just give you a more broad overview of how this game works and the types of animatronics that are here. So, first off, there are a total of 50 animatronics, each one ranging from level 0, which is turned off, to level 20, which is max difficulty. There aren't a set of 5 nights like the other FNAFs, but instead you just build a night for yourself, picking whatever animatronics you want and changing their difficulty to whatever you want as well. The animatronics actually fall into different categories, which I'm not sure what the actual classifications are for each of these, so like don't yell at me if it's different than any official ones. But from playing the game, this is how I would sort out the animatronics. First, there are animatronics that can kill you and ones that only jump scare you. So we'll call them lethal for the ones that can kill and spooky for the ones that can only jump scare. I'll highlight the ones in red as lethal and the ones in green as jump scare. Naturally, the lethal ones are a higher priority than the spooky animatronics in most cases. Next category is how they kill you. So during the nights, there are 4 entrances in your office: a left door, a right door, a vent in front of you on the wall, and a vent on the right towards the floor. These are how the animatronics get into your office. There are also animatronics that exist in the office and will activate under different circumstances. Like Nightmare Balloon Boy that can stand up after you look at the monitor and you need to flash him to sit him back down, or Freddy who spawns in little frettles when you're looking at the monitor, and if they all spawn, he kills you. These are also dealt with by using the flashlight. So with these in mind, let's get out the highlighter again. So anything that comes from the left door, I will highlight in green, and anything that comes from the right door is red. Anything from the front vent is blue, and anything from the right vent is yellow. And office animatronics are purple. In general, animatronics that go through the doors can be blocked by closing the doors, but some cannot be blocked once activated, which I'll show here. These are generally the most dangerous animatronics, and even having one of these activated changes how you play a night by quite a bit. We'll call these guys the Fnaf is really intense considering it's for kids, or Fricks for short. With these very broad generalizations out of the way, we can now determine, or at least based on my skill level, which is very low, we can now determine which animatronics are most dangerous and should take the most attention when active. Red being the most dangerous, yellow being deadly but not difficult, and green being non-deadly. There's also a very important mechanic that I will be exploiting to be able to beat this game, and it's called cam stalling. Some of the animatronics in the game cannot attack you while the camera is set to their location, even when the monitor isn't up. This can be used to essentially deactivate animatronics, as long as the camera isn't switched off of them. Animatronics that can be stalled, or rather ones that I will be stalling throughout the game, are the highlighted ones. I'll quickly go over any important details for characters as I go through the challenges. Speaking of challenges, there are 16 of them in the game, with each night lasting 4.5 minutes. We will be counting me beating all of the challenges as beating UCN, and these challenges range from very difficult to being able to do these with literally one hand. And I will use the same scale as before to give you a quick overview of which ones are the most difficult and which are easier. Red being the hardest and green being the easiest. Now, with all that out of the way, we can get into it. And again, it's very confusing at first, so I understand if you're still confused about all this. First up are the bear attack levels. These are pretty simple ones that get you used to like very basic mechanics in the game. As you can guess from the title of the challenge, These levels have the Freddy animatronics active. And taking a quick glance at these guys, the only ones we have to worry about are Freddy, Ned Bear, and Molten Freddy. This is because we can flash Phantom Freddy with the flashlight, flip on the mask after checking the monitor, which takes care of Golden Freddy. We can close the side doors when we hear laughing, because that's the nightmares. Helpy, we just click on when he's in the office. And then Rockstar Freddy, we just pay coins to or run the heater if he activates. And Lefty can be camp stalled. So going through this night, we just start by turning on our power generator and set our camera to 3, which stalls Lefty. And then we hit reset on the ventilation and lower the monitor and use the mask real quick after in case Golden Freddy is there. I also forgot to mention this, but there are 4 main equipment that we're going to be using throughout the game. And that's the power generator, which creates noise but lowers your power consumption and can be toggled by pressing 1. The heater, which heats up the office quickly and can be toggled with 3. The global music box, or the GMB, which can be toggled by pressing 6. And we'll go over this functionality in a bit. And finally, the office fan, which cools down the room and is toggled by pressing space. Throughout the nights, it's important to manage your temperature, power, and noise levels, as well as ventilation, which is reset by pulling up the cameras and then clicking reset ventilation. Pretty simple. If you don't reset the vents, you will die after about 50 seconds. So after that setup, you can see that Bear's attack 1 is pretty simple. You just sit in the office and wait for the ventilation to start going out, and then you get ready for a reset. To do this, I'm going to close the left door for a few seconds to give a chance for Freddy to attack, which ends up resetting him. And then I run the heater for a couple seconds, which pushes Ned Bear back. Then I close the front vent while the monitor is up. Then I hit reset and open the vent back up after lowering the monitor. Rinse and repeat, basically, for the rest of the night. By the way, it's important to check these things before a reset because a lot of the animatronics can only attack while you flip the monitor up. Now, either the sleepiness, the stream crashing, or this little demon was getting to me. Little demon. Okay, I did write this down a couple days ago. And looking at this now, I have no idea what I meant by little demon. I didn't write any notes or anything about that. So I'm going to assume I was writing about this little guy. Spooky, isn't it? Anyways, Bonnie must have gotten to me because I managed to die here. Because I was explaining how to reset the vents and I was circling my mouse around and hit the camera button like an idiot, which just led everything in the room to kill me. This is also arguably one of the easiest ones to beat, and I got a bit upset and embarrassed over this, understandably, thinking that this was the worst thing that could happen to me while I was live. But only if I knew what the day had in store for me. But I ended up beating it my second try and moved on to Bear's Attack 2. This is very similar to Bear's Attack 1, but as you might notice, one of the little fricks are activated. Toy Freddy. The way we deal with Toy Freddy is we just need to check his cam, which is cam 8, and block Mr. Hugs on his monitor. Otherwise, he will game over and come and kill us. He is also an animatronic that can be death coined, which basically means if you collect 10 coins, you can go to cam 7 and buy this coin that can be used to delete some animatronics during that night, which is what we'll be doing to Toy Freddy. You can farm coins by switching through the cameras and finding them floating on the screen. So at the start of the night, I do the same thing as before, but I block Freddy and coin farm until I can death coin Toy Freddy. Then I stall Lefty and go back to the exact same strat as before. And if any Freddles spawn in from the cams being up, I flash them. So after beating that with ease, I move on to the 3rd level. Bear's Attack 3 is essentially the exact same as 2, just you need to move faster. and you need to place an audio layer which slows down Ned Bear, and it completely stops the other animatronics, which I'll talk about later. But to place it, you pull up the cams and go to the duct system, and always place the lure here specifically. So after beating the bear attacks and watching Chica do Chica stuff, it's time to move on to Pay Attention 1. Here we have Balloon Boy or BB and JJ active. These two come in from the right vent and are easily blocked. Nightmare Balloon Boy is here, Old Man Consequences, or OMC, who will show up and you press C in the correct spot to catch a fish. Otherwise, he deactivates your camera for a bit. Helpy, Music Man, which is attracted to noise, so if his cymbals start crashing, turn off anything that's making noise and then turn them back on when he leaves. L Chip runs an ad, but you just click skip or hit enter to close it. And Funtime Chica adds a wiggly effect to the screen. Wow. The actually dangerous animatronics during the night are Marionette, Funtime Foxy, and Afton. Afton will show up once a night and charges through your right vent, and only gives you a couple of seconds to react to him. But all you have to do is close the vent to stop him. Marionette and Funtime Foxy are both little fricks, with Marionette needing to have his music box wound up on cam 4, or you can use the GMB to wind it up, and Funtime Foxy displaying a showtime. And you have to look at their camera at that exact time, otherwise you die. Luckily, both of these fricks can be death coined, so I will be death coining Marionette. So at the start of the night, I death coined Marionette, and then left the camera on Funtime Foxy, which is cam 6, and only did cam flips for vents or for the showtime. I just sat in the office otherwise and managed the noise whenever Music Man would show up. I ended up missing the showtime, which was at 2:15 by 0.4 seconds, which, by the way, each hour is 45 seconds long, and I needed to have the camera up at 3 a.m., which would have been 2:15. But after a second try of doing a different strat, I beat it no problem. Pay Attention 2 has an alternative strat that I used after I died on the first one. And this strat actually makes it a lot easier to beat. So you can do the same strategy as before, or if you're bad at remembering showtimes like I am, you can do this one for the Pay Attention levels. It's also just fun to do, so I like to do it. Basically, you flip up the cameras and death coin Marionette like usual, but instead of lowering the cams, you just keep them on cam 6 and never lower them. This way, you will always make showtime, and it makes things a lot easier. Like, you still deal with the distractions and reset vents, but you basically deactivated both fricks, which feels pretty nice, honestly. There's a chance that Helpy will pull down the cams, but if he doesn't do it after 7 seconds, then he won't, as long as you keep the monitor up. So after beating those, I moved on to Ladies Night. These are all played pretty identically, so I'll just like clump all these ones together. Chica will bang pots and pans in the kitchen and will stop when she gets annoyed by the music playing, and will kill you soon after that happens. But if the GMB is on at every 15-second interval, which is Chica's trigger interval, this will keep her from attacking. Toy Chica comes into the room and makes the lights flicker. You just put on the mask, and once she starts to leave, you can take it off. Mangle is blocked by closing the front vent, but if she gets in, she just makes noises the rest of the night, which is generally fine. JJ is JJ. Withered Chica is blocked with the front vent. Jacko Chica will attack if the office gets too hot. Circus Baby is what's called a plush animatronic, meaning that she will show up at cam 2. And if she does, you usually would need to buy her plush from the price counter to stop her. But luckily for us, she can be cam stalled, just like all the other plush animatronics, which includes Nightmare Bonnie and Nightmare Mangle as well. Ballora will play music from either side of the office, and you close the door to stop her. Happy Frog is stopped by the audio lure, same as Mr. Hippo and Pig Patch. Rockstar Chica is blocked by leaving the wet floor sign on the left of the office, and she is stalled on camera 2, along with Circus Baby. Funtime Chica, then Scrap Baby, which if she spawns in the office, she will occasionally look at you, and then if that happens, you just shock her. So nothing too bad. Ladies Night 2 is the exact same thing, and Ladies Night 3 is the same with one exception, Funtime Foxy, which we death coin, and then it's the same as the other nights. The strat for these levels is basically turning on the generator at the start of the night, placing an audio lure, then keeping the camera on 2, or death coining Funtime Foxy on Ladies Night 3, then going to cam 2, where I reset the vents and lower the monitor. I make sure to turn on the GMB at 15-second intervals, then switch back to the power gen after, then closing the front vent while I have the monitor up to reset the vents. I was definitely getting tired at this point because I missed turning on the GMB and died to Chica on Ladies Night 2. But luckily I didn't die after that, putting me at 8 total deaths at this point. You might have also noticed that I kept forgetting to move to the next split after beating the night. So I instead just like spammed past some of the splits. So a lot of these times are like inaccurate, but the overall time is accurate at least. Thanks, streamer Daryl. But hey, I have a world record speed on Bears Attack 2 now. So like, I can't complain. Creepy Crawlies is next, which has Mangle, Chica, Molten Freddy, Ennard, and Springtrap, which can all be blocked by closing the front vent before cam flips. Withered Bonnie has a chance of spawning when the cams are up, and if he does spawn, you just lower the cams and put on the mask immediately. Marionettes, who can be death coined, the mediocre melodies, which are these guys, can all be blocked by the audio lure, then using the heater for a couple of seconds before a cam flip. And finally, Music Man. So we need to keep our sound low when he spawns. Both Creepy Crawlies 1 and 2 have the exact same strat, with 2 just having Afton added in, so you just have to listen for him as well. But the overall strategy is I turn on the power generator and put an audio lure down, then death coin Marionette, and sit in the office until I need to do a vent reset, where I then run the heater for 3 seconds, then close the front vent while the monitor is up. So I just repeat this until... Yeah, my internet went out again. You know what? No biggie. We'll just start stream again and act like that didn't happen. This definitely won't happen again because this is the second time that it's crashed now, you know, and it can't happen a third time. Anyway, I for some reason got really stressed all of a sudden and died to Afton because I was worried about something totally unrelated to stream, definitely not breaking. But after regaining my composure, I was able to successfully beat Creepy Crawlies 1 and 2. Hopping into Nightmare's Attack, we can see that this is a pretty laid back challenge, even though everything is set to level 20. The main animatronic that poses any threat to us is Nightmarian, because if you keep the cursor in the middle of the screen, he will spawn in and kill you after just 1 second. But to counter this, you just keep your cursor on the left or the right of the screen and you're safe. So jumping into the night, all that I do to beat this is I manage the fan, turning it off at 60 degrees, then turning it back on at 80 degrees so it doesn't get too hot and saves power. Then I close the front vent when I pull up cams to do a vent reset. Then I mask when I lower the cams for Golden Freddy. And I make sure to put the cams onto 2 so it stops the plush animatronics. Then I just keep doing vent resets and that's it for the rest of the challenge. And as you noticed, I managed to die on this still. Then I died again to Golden Freddy because I forgot to mask. Then I died again because I put my cursor directly on Nightmarian when the game loaded in. Then again to Nightmarian. At this point, I was raging. And by the way, my raging is I just basically stopped smiling That's all it is. Then, after I got serious, I actually beat it. And good gosh, it shouldn't have been that hard. But like, this was supposed to be one of the easiest levels in the game. Moving on, I did Springtrap, which is supposed to be easy as well, but we'll see if I end up dying again. During this challenge, there's nothing really to worry about, so we just have to make sure not to die to Night Marion like an idiot. But who would do that? So we turn on the power gen and go to cam 3 to stall Lefty. Then, whenever we lower cams, we check for JJ in the right vent. Then we sit and wait for a vent reset, where we just close the front vent while we have the monitor up. Jump scares from the phantoms don't matter at all, same with the trash gang, and make sure not to click the bird or you will most likely die. Other than that, I just listened for Afton in the right vent and then I was good. But there's no reason to celebrate just yet, because next is the hardest challenge in the game for me. Old friends. At first, it might not look that bad, but looking closer at this roster, you'll notice that there are not 1, not 2, not 5, but 3 fricks at max level. We can death coin Bonnie, Foxy, Toy Freddy, or Marionette, luckily, but we can only pick 1. I choose to death coin Toy Freddy because I find him to be the hardest one for me to manage. So at the start of the night, I turn on the power generator and go to cam 8 to block Toy Freddy. Then I go to cam 7 so we can buy a death coin after we collect 10 coins. Then instead of farming the cameras for coins, I use a different trick, which is farming BB. When BB gets blocked in the vent, it gives you a coin. And since he's at level 20, he spawns very frequently. All we do is flip up the cams quickly, then lower them after the first frame of the cams show up, which will spawn him in. Then we block him. Then we repeat it until we get 10 coins. Then we get rid of Toy Freddy, and then we set the cams to 2 to stall Circus Baby. While doing this, I need to run the GMB for both Chica at every 15-second interval and have it on long enough for the marionette not to activate. To do this, I need to turn off the power gen and the fan at 14 seconds and turn on the GMB and then keep it on until the 31-second mark, where I turn it off and turn the power generator and the fan back on. Then at the 44-second mark, I do the same thing until 1 minute and 1 second. Then I repeat that for every minute for the whole night. And if that wasn't bad enough, I also need to pay attention to the action figure that's on the desk, which can either be a Bonnie or it can be a Foxy. If it's Bonnie, then I'm all good. But if it's Foxy, then I will die after about 30 seconds or so of his action figure being active. This is because the longer that Foxy's action figure is active, he will slowly put more parts of himself into the room until he eventually kills you. But when it's on Bonnie, he doesn't progress. You can switch the action figure by pulling up the cams, but every time you pull up the cams, you risk getting killed by Freddy and Springtrap. And since we only want to pull up the cams for vent resets, we need a different strategy to change the action figure from Foxy to Bonnie while not triggering anything to kill us. And lucky for us, there is a way to actually do this, and it's called a 0 frame camera flip, which basically means that you pull up the cameras but lower them the frame before the camera actually renders. This won't trigger any animatronics to kill you, but it will trigger the action figure on the desk to swap out. It's hard to pull off and takes a lot of practice, and I still miss it a lot because you have to be very precise with the flips. So this is everything that I'm worrying about while I'm playing this challenge. I'm trying to coin farm and death coin Toy Freddy in under 20 seconds, otherwise I have to block Mr. Hugs again, and I run the chance of Springtrap killing me if I take longer, while I'm worrying about the GMB cycles. Then after I death coin Toy Freddy, I have to make sure that the figure is Bonnie, otherwise I need to start 0 frame flipping, while also putting on the mask whenever Toy Chica and Toy Bonnie show up. Then when I need to vent reset, I need to close the left door for a few seconds to check for Freddy, then close the front vent while I reset, and keeping that up for 4.5 minutes. And if it still doesn't sound that bad to you, then you're either a 50-20 player, or I just didn't explain it well enough, because like, gosh dang, I died so much while trying to do this. Death after death after death after death. Then after my deaths were at a total of 25, and I had spent 46 minutes on just this challenge alone, things fell into place. Death coin, 0 frame flips, GMB cycles, you name it, putting on that good old mask. Everything was going perfectly. 1 minute in, then 2, then 3, then all went silent. Gosh dang it, stream crashed again, didn't it? Yes, it did. And Smarty Pants Daryl over here didn't even notice it and happened to actually beat the challenge, finishing the night while the stream was still offline. Look at this little dummy celebrating. So after a little breather, I could finally move on. Also, my neck was hurting at this point for some reason. Maybe I was just like focusing too hard, or it was just like I have really bad gaming posture, but who's to say? But now there's only 3 challenges left. The Chaos levels. Chaos 1 has a pretty mellow arrangement of animatronics actually, even though it's a lot to take in at first. But if we take a closer look, there are only 2 fricks at pretty low levels active this night, Marionette and Toy Freddy. This means we'll be death coining Toy Freddy and using the GMB through the night. So jumping into the nights, we're going to have the power gen on and setting an audio lure. Then we stop Mr. Hugs in cam 8, then start farming coins in the cams to death coin Toy Freddy. We lower the cams for the Freddles and have them lowered at every 13-second interval, because that's when Withered Bonnie and Rockstar Bonnie can spawn if the cams are up. Every 40 seconds, we turn on the GMB for 20 seconds and listen for Afton. We don't even need to close any events when we reset, but I did it anyway because of muscle memory. So after beating that, chat had me raise my death count number, which I thought was at 24, but they had me raise it to 29. So I raised the number up and then caught up on my good old Bonnie smooches. Chaos 2 is not too drastically different than the first one, except we will be keeping our camera at 2 because of the plush animatronics and Rockstar Chica, as well as using the mask after cam flips and for Toy Chica and Toy Bonnie. We also will be checking the left door before a cam flip. So at the start of this night, we turn on the power generator and set our audio lure, then keep the cams on 2 for the rest of the night. Then every 20 seconds, we use the GMB for 20 seconds to keep the marionette soothed. But other than that, we just sit in the office until event reset and listen for Afton to come barreling towards us from the vent. But since there's not much else to focus on, this is pretty easy to do. Chaos 3, in my opinion, is the second hardest challenge in the game. Not nearly as hard as Old Friends, but it still takes me a good like 20 minutes to actually beat this one. The reason for that is this little frick. And again, that's frick as the acronym. So for this night, I need to start with the fan off, place an audio lure, then leave the cam on too. I'm keeping the temperature between 60 and 80 degrees, so turning off the fan at 60 and turning it on at 80 like before. Then I deal with the distractions while I'm waiting for event reset. Before I reset them, I need to run the heater for 3 seconds, then close the front vent and reset the cams. Then I take care of any animatronics that activated during that, like Nightmare BB and BB or JJ. Then I swap the Foxy figure back to Bonnie and repeat. Also remembering to keep my cursor on the sides of the screen because of Nightmarian. I died a few more times during this and I forgot to add it to the total count, but since I added an additional 5 deaths from chat, I'll just say that it all evens out. And with Chaos 3 completed, that means I have now finished Ultimate Custom Nights as well, giving me a final time of 2 hours, 58 minutes, and 46 seconds. A time save of 17 minutes and 23 seconds, and a total death count of 29 deaths, with a total runtime of about 7 hours. Not too bad, if I say so myself. And I do. Now, I only have 3 games left to complete, and then this stream can finally end. Or I guess I should say streams, because I was now on my 4th stream of the day when it should have just been 1. Yeah. Thanks, internet.
Welcome to the Freddy Fazbear Virtual Experience.
Next, I had to set up the VR for Help Wanted, and I decided to leave my timer running because I didn't expect it to take that long to set up. So after putting on the headset, connecting to the computer, disconnecting from the computer to update the Oculus app and the headset, then ignoring a warning to restart the computer and reconnecting to the computer again, I was 28 minutes into the run before even opening the game. Oh, also after updating everything, my headset audio and microphone stopped working, so I had to use this microphone and my headphones to play the game, so I ended up being very quiet during this section. I also had a lot of cords in my playing area from all this, from the headphones and the microphones, so those of you who have played on VR before know that it's fantastic to have cords all around you while you can't see anything. So yeah, you know, that was just lovely. Fnaf 1 is the first section of this game, and it plays very similarly to the OG Fnaf 1, except there are a few tricks here and there that help make things a lot easier actually. For example, if you ever want to trigger Foxy to come running down to the door, you can close it and then look out the door to force Foxy to spawn in. This is useful because when he's close to attacking and Bonnie is already at the door, so like it's closed anyway, you can trigger Foxy to come running in. Another trick is you can simply just look into the hallways from the office and see if an animatronic is walking by the doors, or if they're standing in the doorway with Bonnie or looking in the window with Chica, in which case you just close the door and you don't have to use the light, which saves power. You can also see when they leave without opening the door. With Chica, you'll see her disappear from the window, and with Bonnie, you can lean forward to look at his hand or arm and wait for that to disappear. Other than that, I swap between looking at Freddy and looking at Foxy on the cams every 10 seconds or so, but I don't know if this actually slows either of them, but I have nothing else to do, so I just do it. This is pretty much all I'm doing throughout all the 5 nights, and I was actually able to beat this section with 0 deaths. And more importantly, I got that juicy 0% at 6 a.m. on night 5, giving me a time of 1 hour and 58 seconds, counting the setup time as well. So a loss of 27 minutes and 7 seconds, but at least nothing was breaking, you know, and I was back on track. Fnaf 2 was also easy peasy lemon squeeze me, beating night after night with no deaths. This game also plays like the OG Fnaf 2, big surprise, where you put on the mask if something is in the vents and flash Foxy in the hallway and wind up the music box. Except it's even easier now. Like, since we can multitask, we can constantly be flashing the hallway with one hand while the other hand is doing the music box and the side vents as well as the mask. This is definitely the easiest set of levels to beat in the game, which sucks because it also makes it feel like the longest. But after 29 minutes, I only had night 5 left to beat. And it froze. Yeah, the game froze. Well, I mean, at least stream didn't break, so we'll just reopen it, and oh, OBS broke. Not even the internet went out this time. OBS itself crashed. So yeah, so at this point I decided it'd be better if I just like ended stream and let my computer do the restart that it was like begging to do since the VR update that it had. hopefully so the headset would work correctly. So I put a stop to the marathon for the day with a time of 8 hours and 36 minutes and 10 seconds. But we're not done. All right, I'm not giving up. I'm coming back tomorrow. That's right. It's day 2 of the marathon and day 2 of me recording, as you might have noticed. My hair also got way too poofy last night, so I tied it up. So, hopefully it looks good. Gosh, I need a haircut. I'm also wearing my favorite sweatshirt today to celebrate the second day of the marathon. This is from my best friend Cappy. Shout out to her. She's awesome. And more importantly, my DBZ pants. That's right. Dragon Ball Z. Heck yeah. Anyways, it's a great combo is what I'm trying to say. I look great today. So after a well-deserved rest and a new built bed, I was ready to start streaming again. Now at this point, I learned a few lessons, like making sure that my software was updated before going live and making sure that my Wi-Fi router doesn't fizzle out as well. But after checking those and making sure that everything was running correctly, I had a couple options to pick from. Either I could continue from where I left off yesterday, starting at Help Wanted, or I could restart the entire marathon. And I actually did want to restart, if I'm being honest, because I did have a lot of fun playing it, and I feel like I could have done a lot better. But I did have an interview the next day, and my girlfriend was very insistent that being late to the interview because I spent 20 hours playing with an animatronic bear isn't as impressive as I think it is. But what does she know? A lot. She knows a lot. She was right. So after deciding on my own that I should just continue where I left off so I'm not late to my interview the next day, I would just start Help Wanted and go from there. I also figured out that I can actually just skip splits. No one told me that. So instead of me just spamming through and getting really short times of 3 seconds or 0 seconds, I can actually just skip splits, which is pretty cool. But I don't get any really fast world records anymore, so that kind of sucks. But hey, I still got that 3-second world record. So, the splits don't lie. So with my splits ready and testing my headset for a complete hour before starting stream, I was finally ready to begin day 2. This stream was projected to be about 10 hours long, given that the previous day was 8.5 hours. So I had a long day ahead of me, but I prepared for every possible problem that could occur during the day. Now I could, as the cool kids would say, lock in and get this bread. Or was that millennials?
And while it's true that some stories associated with our name were loosely based on actual events, the majority of them were total fabrications from the mind of a complete lunatic. Lawsuits pending.
The stream started off great with no deaths on Fnaf 1 because I'm just that good and lucky, with a split of 38 minutes and 54 seconds and a gold split of 6 hours, 3 minutes and 27 seconds. I'm sure that's accurate. Also, while I was in VR and could not see my surroundings and playing a relatively scary game in VR, Isa, my girlfriend, decided it would be a funny and goofy idea to try and scare me and to mess with me while I was in the VR. So that was cool. That was cool, Isa. Thank you, Isa, for doing that. I love you. I immediately went into FNAF 2, beating night after night with only a couple deaths, actually, just only a few, until only night 5 was left. Again, just like yesterday. I started it up, got to 1 a.m. and frozen. Gosh freaking dang it. So I proceeded to troubleshoot for a bit. And while streamer Daryl is trying to troubleshoot and trying to fix things, I have something kind of cool that I found out that I just want to mention here. I don't know if you guys knew this. I didn't know this even existed, but you can actually boop Freddy's nose, Toy Freddy's nose, in Fnaf 2 in VR. On the poster on the wall, you can go up there and give him a little boop, and it makes the honking noise. I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know if you guys knew that. Anyway, checking back on streamer Daryl here, it looks like I've spent half an hour now trying to fix the game, but it won't budge. I was about ready to give up when chat reminded me of something that I hadn't even considered. Help Wanted and Help Wanted 2, the VR games in the series, can both be played on desktop mode as well, meaning you don't need a VR to actually play the games. I have no idea why this didn't cross my mind like even once. Like I could have done that the day before, and like I could have actually completed the whole marathon in one day if I thought about that like I planned. But you know, streamer Daryl wasn't that smart, you know. That didn't bother me at all, knowing that I spread the stream into 2 days without needing to. But with my newfound ability to actually play the game now, I jumped back into it, almost immediately realizing that this was going to be difficult. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever played the VR version of this game, but if you have, you know that you can easily multitask and like use both of your hands like you could in the real world, because you know VR, 2 controllers, 2 hands. Like you can press lights while doing the cameras and all that good stuff. But on desktop, you can only do one thing at a time, meaning you move slower and risk dying more often. And this was not good for me, considering I've already been dying more than I planned, and now I'm playing a version of the game that I just haven't practiced before. So I'm going to die even more and waste even more time than I already have. But with no other choice, I persisted and won. After dying twice, I got a time of 54 minutes, 25 seconds, with a time loss of 5 minutes and 53 seconds, which does include the time that I took troubleshooting. So take that time with a grain of salt. Next up was Fnaf 3, which, surprise, surprise, is the same as the OG Fnaf 3, except it's actually much easier. Not only is Springtrap most likely to spawn in cam 9, which means he can easily be pulled to camera 10, but we can also be constantly resetting our other systems because we can multitask easier in Help Wanted than in Fnaf 3. This means that we basically keep the same strategy of just bringing Springtrap to camera 10, keeping him there, and then locking the vent, and just spamming reset all the whole night, every night, all 5 nights. That's how you beat the game, basically. And like even on desktop, this is very easy to do. So I managed to squeak out a victory with 0 deaths. You know, just like Fnaf 3 the day before, which made me feel pretty cool, giving me a time of 27 minutes, 22 seconds, with a time save of 1 minute and 20 seconds actually. However, my joy was very short-lived, because Dark Rooms was next. This section is relatively easy, actually. In fact, like 3 of the 4 levels are just a guaranteed win if you know the strats to them. So first is Plush Trap. You need to flash him when he's on the X and only moves when your flashlight is off. He has an audio pattern that makes him very predictable, just like in Fnaf 4. Basically, you flash him at first to start the night, listen for a footstep sound, a scurry sound, then 2 footstep sounds, a scurry sound, a footstep. Then on the next footstep, you flash him and he will always be on the X. Nightmare BB is after Plush Trap, and it's the exact same pattern as Plush Trap, except there's occasional voice lines from Nightmare BB that kind of muddies the sound a bit. But if you listen carefully, it's literally no harder than the Plush Trap level. The 4th level in this section is Funtime Foxy. And to beat them, all you need to do is walk 7 to 8 steps forward, flash to see where they are, then walk forward and diagonal 7 to 8 steps, making your way towards the door and staying away from Foxy so you don't touch them and die. And you repeat that process till you eventually get to the door on the other side of the room. Now, with these 3 being so easy to complete, you'd think that the other one in this section would be a walk in the park too. But no, it's anything but easy. To beat this level, you need to find where plush babies are hiding in the room, then flash them for a few seconds to make them despawn. And if you don't spot them fast enough, they kill you. Not only that, but if your flashlight is on for too long, it ends up dying and you have to sit there in the dark room while it recharges, pretty much guaranteeing that you get killed. The only thing you can do is basically memorize the spawn points and pray that you make it through the night. My only saving grace when I practiced this for hours before the stream was that I could memorize where I needed to aim my arms so I could quickly flash each spot and like save battery life. So like I built the muscle memory for where to point. But I'm on desktop now, which means that muscle memory does absolutely nothing for me. And I have to basically practice on stream while I'm doing the marathon. I died twice, then tried some different strats, and I actually found out that I could do a swiping motion when I flashed the light so I could see multiple spawn points at once, which actually helped me to beat the level. So with my deaths at 33, I started the black light modes for dark rooms. Thankfully, literally nothing changes strategy-wise for these levels, with Plush Trap and Nightmare BB being the exact same pattern as their normal levels. And Funtime Foxy is switched out for a little bit, and some stationary animatronics are in the room. But you just move around the same as before and just avoid hitting the other animatronics and you're fine. Luckily, plush babies are the same pattern as before, only with one slight problem. Every plush in the room is a plush baby now, with the ones that you're looking for being Scrap Trap plushies. So they're only like slightly different in how they look. They spawn in the same spots as before, but regardless, this is like the hardest level in Help Wanted, in my opinion. I ended up dying 5 more times before completing this one, already giving me a time loss, and I still had a little bit left, which I beat quickly and ended with a time of 31 minutes and 52 seconds and a time loss of 6 minutes and 25 seconds for dark rooms, which honestly isn't too bad. Like, I'm cool with that. I start parts and service, which is possibly the easiest section in the game. You perform tasks in a preset pattern, so it's very easy to memorize the patterns on each repair, and you should only be a minute or so per level. But being on desktop somehow made me forget how to do some of these levels, probably because of a muscle memory thing again. So I ended up dying another 5 times by the time I got to the blacklight levels, and for reference, I should have died this many times. The blacklight levels are the exact same. They just have some visual changes like Disco Bonnie and Foxy being on fire and whatever the heck is going on with Freddy. But luckily, I only died once here, putting my total deaths at 44, with a time of 15 minutes and 1 second, which is 58.9 seconds behind my best. Vent repair is a very quick section as well. You just flick some switches while looking down the vents to keep Mangle back, and then do tasks quickly on Ennard's level, with the blacklight levels being essentially the same, but you just need to do things faster. So I had no deaths with a time of 14 minutes, 2 seconds. which was 2 minutes and 20 seconds faster than my best. And like, I'm actually enjoying myself again at this point because I got used to the controls. So I'm able to have fun again and not like panic that I'm on desktop. And now I only have Night Terrors left and Pizza Party. And then I can move on to Security Breach. So with Night Terrors, the first section is Fun Time Freddy, which basically plays the same as Fnaf 4, where you go door to door, and if you hear breathing, you close the door until you hear Freddy leave. Usually he laughs when he leaves. The only additional trick is you need to flash Bonnet while you're doing this. There's a couple different ways you can beat this level, but the way I chose to do it is to run to a door, listen for a second, and then flash the hallway if there's no breathing. Bon Bon will show up in the hallways sometimes, but he doesn't really do anything. He just kind of like gives an occasional jump scare, and I believe he moves parallel to Freddy. So whatever side Bon Bon is on, Freddy is on the other side. But you just keep repeating this pattern of listening, closing the door, or flashing, then moving to the other door until you see Bonnet in the closet. In which case, you flash her, move to the closet, and then close the doors until you hear Freddy move again. Then you can go back to the same pattern until the night ends. I ended up beating this game easy peasy. I actually don't remember if I died during this, so if I did, I'll show it here. But I'm pretty sure I ended up beating this one without dying. And now, Nightmarian. Probably the scariest level for me when I'm actually in VR, honestly. But luckily, I don't have to deal with that. So I can just focus on the strat for this, which is going to a door for about 10 seconds and flashing the tentacles that spawn in the room, which are very gross. Hot take, I don't like tentacles. And if Nightmarian starts walking down the hallway, close the door for about 5 to 10 seconds, then check if he's there again. And if not, move to the other door and look for him. You also know he's in the hallway because of his glowing white eyes, so you don't need to flash the hallway at all. I just repeated this pattern until I beat the night with no deaths, luckily. And after a minor visual glitch, I started the next level. Circus Baby. Now, normally, my strat for this is to let Circus Baby see me and get as close to the closet as she possibly can before killing me. Then I close the doors and keep them closed until the second before the plush babies kill me from holding the door closed for too long, which you can tell when the plush babies are about to kill you because they get louder and louder. That way, I know that the door has been closed for long enough for baby to reset. And then you just repeat the pattern for the rest of the night. And like I said, I use the plush babies in the closet as an indicator for when to open the door again. However, it was different in desktop and no one told me. The plush babies actually kill you much faster than they do in the VR. So I quickly found out that I have no idea how to beat this game. So after dying 5 times, I did what any modern gamer does and looked it up. So after finding out that I can open the door for a second, then close it again without dying, I was able to beat it with a whopping 7 deaths on a level that I easily should have had 0 on. But with me only slightly raging on the inside from that, I moved on to the last level before Pizza Party, Nightmare Fredbear. This one is actually fairly simple, like in Fnaf 4 and Night 5. You just listen for his footsteps and check the doors until you see his red eyes. Then if you see them, close the door until you hear footsteps again, then repeat until you hear laughing. When there's a laugh, you check the bed with your flashlight, and if he's not there, you go to the closet and close it quickly until you hear him moving around again. Rinse and repeat. It's so easy that I still managed to get killed once. But finally, we are at the end of the game. Pizza Party. This level, you just run through a bunch of different paths and doors until you find the exit. And this is a predetermined path, so you can actually memorize where to go. And for those of you who are wondering, you go left, 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 left in the Fnaf 3 room, diagonal right in the plush trap hallway, then you go to the right door, then diagonal right, right in the kitchen, right in the puppet room, then enter the Fnaf 3 office, go into the vent, look up, and enter through the hatch. Then you wait for the animation of Glitch Trap to play, then enter the curtain, and congrats, you've beaten the game. So, after doing that, I ended with a time of 3 hours, 30 minutes, and 19 seconds to beat Help Wanted, which is not bad at all, considering the technical difficulties that I had early on that added 30 minutes to the run. I also have a total of 53 deaths between all of the games for the whole marathon so far, for those of you who are keeping track of those. And with that, I was very eager to get started on Security Breach.
Are you having fun yet?
One of the most enjoyable games in the series for me, because it's not too difficult if you can manage to avoid glitches, and I like being able to just run around the Pizzaplex. I think it's very fun to do. So let's open up some... No. Well, it crashed. Big surprise. I'll just reopen it, and... So after restarting OBS, I was able to get Security Breach to open and got it to work. There are a ton of splits that I set up for this game, so I'll just give a quick recap of everything I did to complete the alley ending, which is the one we're going for. Which, for those of you who don't know what the alley ending is, that's just leaving the Pizzaplex the first chance that we get. I also am going to be hitting these points very quickly, so buckle in, strap in. I hope you guys are ready. So I hopped out of Freddy to free Freddy, to get back into Freddy, to leave Freddy, to go to the Bonnie Cam for a bit, to get back into Freddy, to leave Freddy so he can take a nap, got chased around a bit, and got locked into the Pizzaplex. Then I ran around until I Mr. Hippo'd myself into the daycare. I immediately started terrorizing the poor daycare attendants, as one does, then proceeded to get lost while trying to turn on the generators after getting the first security badge, as one does. I escape the daycare and see this bunny lady that definitely has no plot significance at all, so we'll just ignore that and go into the main area and head down to... I get the map and head down to the kitchen through this vent and across this walkway. Now I get to make some pizza, which I masterfully built. Then, after making my sacrifice, I could grab the garbage compactor instructions, sit through some dialogue, and follow Chica into the showers. I sneak past her and get into a forced cutscene where Vanessa ults and becomes her persona. I grab the screwdriver and leave out this vent. While Vanessa is ulting, she can make our vision go weird if she's too close, so if your vision is only slightly messed up, you're probably fine to run. I accidentally get Chica into the elevator, but I guess she was getting off a floor earlier than me, so she wasn't really a problem. Then I run over to Broken Freddy, ignoring his little sob story and running past Roxy. Okay, we're just going to run past Roxy into the backstage area where we grab a pass and run to the security room. I do some door shocking and some Freddy unlocking until we can go down this vent. Do not mix this up with Freddy shocking and door unlocking. You will not have a fun time during this part if you do that. I then go to the 3rd floor and start showtime so I can go down to the main stage where I managed to die several times. Then Freddy and I ride the elevator and where I make it safely to the charging pod. We need to get another security badge at this point, so I need to go to the basement where I have to get past these endos while pressing these buttons while keeping these endos back, which I can do by looking at them to freeze them. I get to the security badge and then book it out of there because it's spooky. Vanessa's ults must be recharging at this point because she's just in her normal security outfit. We go and fix Freddy while I'm munching on some rolls dipped in ranch. Don't judge me. We go into Roxy's room to go into Freddy's room to go into Chica's room so we can go to Phaser Blast. I wait in the elevator, then get the security badge first. Now, at this point, I could just leave and beat the rest of the game without getting the Phaser Blaster, if I was good enough to beat the game without it. But I'm not good at the game, so I'm gonna go get it. Also, so I can get those sweet, sweet headshot stuns. I blasted some aliens, then got my gold shooty boy and continued on my quest. And I forgot the bowling pass, so I went back into Phaser Blast to get that. Chica hopped on the elevator for a second, then we headed off to Bonnie Bowl. I went into the back and grabbed some Monty Mystery Mix and booked it out of there because endos are spooky, and went back to the kitchen, this time through a spooky elevator. We plant our bait, turn on the generator, then crush the second least favorite animatronic of the bunch. We grab her beak, then start turning on generators. I trip and fall for some reason, but we'll just ignore that and turn on the next generator, which I do by hugging the left side, turning it on, then backtracking and shooting Chica so I can run past her. The last generator we just turn on, then shoot Chica again so we can run past her and make it to the sticky note room. We leave and make our way back to the spooky elevator and head to the main stage to upgrade Freddy again. I die here, not because I suck at clicking colors, but because the game glitched. Or something. Anyway, Isa wanted to do this part, so she took over for a bit. Everyone say hi, Isa. Well, this part is very easy, luckily, so she should be able to do this with ease. And she died. Yeah, she found a way to die too. She ended up using the same excuse as me and said that it glitched. You know, this is why we make such a good couple. We lie in the exact same way, which basically means that we're like meant for each other. Anyway, she died 2 more times before raging, so I take over the mouse while she did keyboard. And I die again. To which I realize that there's a chance now that we'll get to a certain funny number by the end of the marathon. Stay tuned to see what that number ends up being. Wink. We complete the repair and go to the recharge station, giving us a 13-minute and 58-second time loss for that mission, which is insane. But what can you do? Isa ties up my hair, which immediately prompts chat to ask her to do pigtails, and Isa, being the loving and thoughtful girlfriend that she is, of course, immediately put my hair into pigtails because I was playing a game and I couldn't stop her. Go to Roxy's salon and I get the speedy shoes by the time that Isa finishes my hair, turning me into a Powerpuff Girl, or a bear, as she puts it. I get to the robot head in Roxy's Raceway while chat makes me put on pink cat ears to add to my humiliation. This caused me to forget to grab the Fazcade pass before leaving Roxy's Raceway, so I had to go back and get that. Then go to the Fazcade with DJ Music Man. We go into the office on the top floor, then we need to run back down to where DJ Music Man is sleeping. So I do this cool stair skip, then start hitting switches. One by DJ Music Man, one in the bathrooms, one on the first floor, one on the third floor, then the last switch at the end of this hallway that definitely won't have any chase sequence after I flick the switch. After the chase sequence, we go into the office and stick our head in. Once it's done cooking, we go back to Roxy's Raceway, so we can drive the cart into her and steal her eyes. Then we escape through this vent that's surrounded by fire. We make our way out and hop into Freddy and take him all the way to the main stage so we can upgrade him one last time. After repairing him, we use him to bring us straight to the elevator and to the main entrance where we choose to leave, ending with a time of 2 hours, 29 minutes, and 26 seconds, which is a 2 hour and 4 minutes 43 second time save. So pretty dang good if I do say so myself. My deaths were also at 61 at this point. Now, I didn't even bother trying to set up the VR for this game, so after celebrating that I didn't crash after opening, I started on the final game of the marathon.
The operation was a success. Yay!
I divided this game into 2 sections, the masked levels, which are all the levels you complete while wearing the mask, and unmasked levels, which are the levels you complete without the mask on. Pretty self-explanatory. I'm also going for the Fast Force ending, which is basically just beating every level in the game, and as you beat the levels, you get presents, which have different action figures in them, And then once you collect all 6 of them, you get the ending. I started off with arts and crafts, which is just using the dart gun to shoot some boards for different body parts that you then take to decorate your paper pal, as well as a paintbrush that you use to paint by number. It starts with painting, then decorating, and painting. After graduating from arts and crafts, I decided to get into adult painting, otherwise known as makeup. In this minigame, you look at the screen to your right to see what you need to make the robot look like, then you put all the appropriate makeup in the appropriate spot. And you put the correct accessories onto them as well. This is honestly a pretty chill game, and I can't help but hum along to the music like every time I play this, so like I had a lot of fun with this level. Then there's one of my favorite levels, not because it's Roxy or anything, it's because it's unique and cool gameplay that everyone of all ages can come together and enjoy. Okay, it's because it's Roxy. Moving on. Next, I did food prep. These are also some of my favorite levels in the game because I basically just get to prepare drinks, I scoop food into bowls, I make microwave dishes, and I get to squirt things with my squirter. On the second food prep level, I got stuck and died thinking that the game was broken, but in reality, I only hit the pizza dough twice and I was supposed to hit it 3 times. After I figured that out, I forgot the fries and died again. Then on the 3rd time, I crushed it and moved on to the staff only section in the game. I did cold storage at first because that was the only option, where you basically just fix up Freddy. So I was doing that and then got distracted talking to chat and then died to Mr. Chompy over here. Then the 2nd time I did just fine. After that was first aid. These ones you just fix up Helpy by using a scan gun to look at his injuries, then using different equipment for those injuries. There's also a mask to put on him if he screams that makes him stop, and a remote to stop ads on the TV, because either one of those noises causes an animatronic to crawl through the vents or come through the curtain. So it's very important to like stay on top of keeping Helpy quiet and turning off the ads. And for this level, if you're wondering, the animatronic is Pig Patch. So I did all the surgeries and gave Helpy some legally binding candy, and things were all good. First aid level 2, which I guess should really be called second aid, is exactly the same. I just need to react faster when the animatronic is alerted, and this time it's good old Lefty that we're fending off. So I beat it with no problems, luckily. Next up is some Fizzy Faz. There is a bunch of these levels, like too many of these levels, but the first one is fairly simple. I'm basically Mr. Daryl Bossman, and I'm in charge of a group of robot workers. I take whatever's on the screen and make a drink from those ingredients, and after so many orders are completed, I finish the night. So this was also a walk in the park. Fizzy Faz 2 follows the same rules, except the bots can get overworked and will stop working until I give them a forced break. So I have to make sure to monitor their activity while doing my job. So this was a little more difficult, but overall not too bad. Next up is a really fun level, and it's called Bonkabon. It's pretty self-explanatory. You bonk. That sounds weird. You bonk some bonds. Anyways, if you hit Helpy, you lose points, and if you hit Bonnets, you get bonus points. Plush babies also show up, and if you don't hit them 3 times in a row fast enough, they will kill you. As long as you don't get killed or get a score lower than the requirement on this one, it's pretty hard to lose. And boy, does it feel great to bonk bonds this much. It still sounds weird. Oh, and the lights turn off partway through this one, but you just hit anything with glowing eyes and then you'll be just fine. Next up are the best levels in the game. DJ Music Man. It's just a memorizing game where he plays a song and you replicate it back to him in a certain time. There's a visual on the desk in front of you that you mimic, and it copies the song as you get the symbols correct. I like this one just because it's like fun, and I love the music that plays at the end of the level every time. Good stuff. The second DJ Music Man is the exact same, just with little music men that show up in the vents, and I need to flash them so they don't mess up my DJ board. And at this point, of course, things were going too well because the game just crashed in the middle of the level. But luckily, I was able to open it back up without any problems and beat the level. Bonnie Bowl is just bowling with like occasional hazards that spawn in, but on desktop you apparently have perfect aim, so I was able to get as many strikes as I wanted. So I got a turkey and then proceeded to just waste bowling balls to make it go faster. Phaser Blast 1 was up next. These play more like carnival games with our definitely not annoying host Carney, so we just shoot little targets and keep the score from falling too low. Otherwise, we die. And on desktop, this actually makes like a halfway decent aiming trainer, which I need because I suck at aiming. Phaser Blast 2 is pretty much the exact same, except it adds targets that you have to hit with a ball, which was also made incredibly easier on desktop because of perfect aiming instead of like a janky VR throwing, which again, if any of you have played in VR, throwing stuff is very finicky at times. So this was a nice change of pace. Plush babies are also introduced, and if they spawn in, you just have to hit them with any of your items, or you can even melee them to get rid of them if you want. And if you don't get rid of them, you die. So with those levels out of the way for now, I can move on to the next section, Ticket Booth. There's not too many levels in Ticket Booth, but these are all pretty fun ones. And the first is Carousel. Sadly, we don't get to ride the carousel, but we get to fix it. Yay! So we have to first change out the fuses, then fix and place the knobs in the correct place. Then we create a new circuit board and replace the old one. While doing this, you have to also look around with the flashlight and find where Moon is and keep the flashlight on him to get him to reset. Otherwise, he makes his way to you and kills you. It's a pretty fun level with just a tad bit of spookiness and stress, so like, I enjoy it. Now we get to play some Foxy Log Ride. Yeah, who wants to ride on Foxy's log? I know I do. I do. Me. You get to sit back and relax and shoot some sheep if you feel up to it. Like, what more could you ask for? Nothing. That's what. I literally just sat there, relaxed, and shot some sheep, so I didn't trigger any of the bonus rounds or hit any helpy signs which extend the ride. So after a nice little cruise on Foxy's log, it was time for the last masked section in the game, Sister Location. This section is the most challenging one in my opinion and plays more like the first Help Wanted, which I appreciate honestly, because up to this point the levels are really repetitive and easy. First is Belora's Gallery. You move until you hear Belora's music, then you stop and you can watch her dance around, which honestly really freaked me out the first time I played it. Then I slowly make my way to the door before the time runs out. Some arenas do spawn around you occasionally throughout this, which all you have to do is throw them away from you as quickly as you can. Otherwise, Bellora will kill you because she moves towards the mid arenas. I also make sure to stay in a straight line to the door, otherwise the Biddy Babs will kill me as well. So after slowly making my way to the door, I beat it without too many issues. Breaker Room is next, and is pretty similar to Sister Location's Breaker Room. You use switches to reset some breakers and have to use a megaphone to calm down Funtime Freddy so he doesn't move and kill you. This one is pretty easy, but just takes time to do. Now for the office levels. These are actually really fun levels too. They take place in the secret room from Sister Location, where you have 2 doors on either side of you and 1 vent in front of you, all of which you can close. You have power that drains very quickly, and you have some cameras to look at what's about to kill you, so that's nice. The first office level is Private Room with Ennard. Yeah, that same Ennard that's really annoying to beat in Sister Location. But luckily in Help Wanted 2, he's very easy. You just watch for him on the cams and watch when he's close to the door or vent. And when a scary sound plays, You close the door that he's at and then wait like 5 to 10 seconds and then open the door, then rinse and repeat. He also moves one room at a time, I found, so he doesn't like teleport around at all, which makes it even easier to tell when he's going to attack. After beating that, I'm ready to take off the mask and complete all the unmasked levels. So I grab the Faz wrench that you get after completing 16 levels, which you end up completing by the time you beat the masked levels. And I take it over to this module and get both of the bars to the blue. Then I head over to the Princess Quest 4 machine and lower this module that then lets you take off your mask. So once I was able to remove my mask, I ended the split, which came out to be 1 hour, 45 minutes, and 38 seconds, which actually was 6 minutes and 22 seconds faster than my previous best, and only 64 deaths in total. Now I only had the unmasked section left in Help Wanted 2. Then I'd finish Help Wanted 2 and finished my first ever marathon. Oh yeah, I was hyped and also very tired. I wasted no time getting started. First was another makeup level for Roxy, but this time she looks great. She looks great. Not only does she look as stunning as ever, but she also will get panic attacks that we have to soothe with her voice from this Roxy talkie. So, with my masterful mix of both beauty and therapy, I was able to do nothing for Roxy and just opted to give her this mask to hide both her appearance and her feelings. Another job well done. Now we have a hard version of arts and crafts with the general mechanics being the same. What makes this harder than the previous one is now we have to use a flashlight to both see and keep Moon away while doing our crafts. We also have to charge the flashlight like very frequently because the battery on that thing lasts as long as like my Nintendo Switch's does. So like 30 seconds. But I managed to pull through, even though this level takes forever. So I headed straight into Food Prep 3. This takes place in Fazbear Theater and plays the same as the other food preps, but has more complicated food like blendies where you mix a drink and a snack together to make a new drink, as well as giving you a camera that you need to use on the endos that get too close to you, which happens whenever you aren't looking forward. I ended up running out of time on the last order, which was a little frustrating, but understandable since I was on desktop and I couldn't multitask as much as I had practiced before on VR. I tried again, but died because of a small glitch where the game didn't recognize that I had all of the food on the tray when I hit finished order. Thanks, Steel Wool, for that. So, after carefully handling my hot dog that could barely fit, I was finally able to finish, putting my deaths at 67. Very close to a certain funny number that I hinted at earlier, if you remember that. Watch to the end to see what that is. We have a third aid level now, this time with Scrap Baby, who moves very quickly, but it was just as easy as the other first aid levels, so I went through that with no problems. And after hammering Helpy's chest open and replacing his lung, I was ready to move on. Fizzy Faz 3 is pretty similar to Fizzy Faz 2, but I am able to speed up the workers this time if I need ingredients quicker, but that does exhaust them faster, so I have to stay more on top of giving the robot workers a break. Completing it with no issues, I moved on to Fizzy Faz 4. See, I told you there's a lot of these things, which adds a new mechanic where if an ingredient fills up in the machine all the way, it spoils and I have to throw the whole stack out. I ended up beating that as well and went into Fizzy Faz 5. Yeah, 5. I have no idea who decided that it was a good idea to put these into the game, but I got bored after like the second one. So everything is the same as 4, but the robots are like nightmare versions that you see in the trash room in Security Breach. So it's just extra spooky and harder because like I guess it's harder somehow. Apparently the spookiness got to me though, because I actually did end up dying, which set the total up to 68. 68, getting pretty. I bet you'll never guess what number the marathon ends on. I beat it this time and moved on to the Endo Warehouse. Endo Warehouse is pretty fun in VR, but in desktop it's just stressful. Yeah, the way you beat this is by playing a memory game while also keeping your eyes on endos in the room. If the endos get too close, you can flash them, but it's best to just keep them away as to not die. This is pretty fun on VR because you can like look at the endos and use your peripheral to like pick the matching sets of cards. But on desktop, you have to look away from the endo, so it's like a lot harder. But you know what they say, nothing is too hard for Daryl. Bonkabon 2 is here now, and nothing has changed, just like a lot of the other levels that have sequels. Much more holes, and you need to move a little faster, but otherwise it's as easy as the first level. Oh yeah, and there's this weird thing with like glowy eyes that shows up occasionally, and there's a small glitch trap hand puppet that if you hit pauses the game and you need to fix the machine to continue. You can also do the code backwards to unlock one of the secrets in the game. DJ Music Man! Heck yeah. Time to get our groove on with some, you don't look too good, sir. Oh, you still want to make music? Okay, whatever you say, Mr. Giant Spider-Man. This follows the same pattern as the DJ Music Man 2, where you need to flash the Music Man that spawn, and you have to move even faster than before with an additional image to memorize. I got stomped a little bit, but was able to recover and barely beat this level. Even DJ Music Man seemed confused that I was able to pass. We have another Phaser Blast level. This time we play Fnaf 1 while continuing to keep our score up. We're given a dart gun to add to our arsenal and just go ham on these bulbs. Then I just shoot stuff while keeping the animatronics out by shooting the doors when they're in the doorway. A pretty cool level, but an easy one that I died. Yeah, I still died. I still died somehow. Adding another death to the counter, I continued on and beat it my second try. Phaser Blast FNAF 2 is the most attention-demanding Phaser Blast, where you have to play FNAF 2 by watching the vents, throwing balls at kids for some reason, and keeping the music box wound up, and occasionally putting on the mask. The score meter is also locked to only being able to charge up to 50%, so you have to stay more on top of collecting points on this one than the previous Phaser Blasts. Time for some spooky carousel now. We do fuses, knobs, then circuit boards like before, but this time everything is on fire. But this time we need to solder the fuses and make 2 circuit boards while keeping Moon back. The carousel moves much faster in this, but I don't find it any harder, honestly. It just takes a bit longer because of the extra steps. So after beating that, I only had Sister Location left. There's another breaker room level that has Yendo this time instead of Funtime Freddy. And what makes this harder to complete than Funtime Freddy's is that Yendo's eyes don't glow when you point the megaphone at him, which sucks considering the room is incredibly dark, making him practically invisible during this. But I beat him using my ultra gaming sense to randomly spam the room with the megaphone until he eventually moved far enough away from me that I could finish the breakers. Now there's only 3 levels left, and they're all office levels. These ones aren't very hard, but they stress me out, which ends up making them feel hard. So I was pretty worried going into these, and I thought I would end up dying like 5 times. So going into Office Puppet Master, I was expecting to die at least once or twice, but luckily things weren't as bad as I thought. In this one, I just need to check the cameras for Biddy Babs or Minarinas and shock whatever ones I find. Otherwise, they'll drain my power. And then occasionally checking the vent for a Biddy Bab that will charge towards the room, and then checking the 2 side cameras to see where Ballora is going to try and get into the office. Blocking the attacks is as simple as the entered office level, except whenever the buttons leave your view, there's a chance that like 1 to 3 Minarinas will block that button, and you have to throw them away before you can press the button, which delays you a few seconds and could actually kill you if you aren't prepared. None of these things were a problem for my amazing gamer skills and techniques of just flipping through the cameras desperately and closing the doors until it turned 6 a.m., hoping that I didn't lose all my power. And I didn't, giving me a deathless completion of the level. Next is perhaps the trickiest level to figure out at first, at least for me it was. It's called Office Funtime Gang, and most of it is pretty straightforward, with one little catch that almost screwed me over. So it's the same office as the previous levels, but this time you are defending against Funtime Chica, Funtime Freddy, and Funtime Foxy. Freddy doesn't attack you directly, but instead sends Bonbon to attack you. Bonbon will make a noise when he's ready to attack, and just look around in either the vent or through the doorways where he'll be floating there. And then he just throws himself at you after a few seconds, so I just counted to 5 and then closed the doors to stop him from killing me. Then after the thud sound, I open the door immediately. Funtime Chica is attracted to her cupcake that's now in the office. So if she gets too close on one side, I just move the cupcake to the other side until she makes her way close to that side, in which case I just move it back to the other direction. Rinse and repeat for that. And if she ends up attacking, she will stay at the door for the rest of the night. And if that happens too early, you're basically screwed. And both of those seem pretty easy to deal with, and they are. But here's the catch. Funtime Foxy. Oh, and by the way, Funtime Foxy is non-binary for those of you who don't know, which is honestly really cool of them to have like different genders for the animatronics. I find that really cool. But anyway, Foxy sucks. They will pretty quickly make their way out of their stage and then disappear for a few seconds before rushing to the door, similar to Foxy in Fnaf 1. And in VR, I found an easy way to stop them, which is just by looking at their camera and never switching off, which completely stalls them. But in desktop, this didn't work for some reason. So not being able to freeze them brought an additional problem that could cost me a lot of deaths. See, unlike Fnaf 1, where Foxy always runs down the left hallway, Funtime Foxy can run down either hallway. And from what I know, they pick a hallway at complete random. This gives me about 1 second to hear the direction they're coming from and close the door in time. Something that's like barely possible in VR, but just straight up impossible on desktop. So I opted in for the good and true strategy of just closing both the doors before an attack and opening them after I hear Foxy's thud. I ended up accidentally letting Chica get to my door, which meant I had to keep it closed the whole night, but luckily it was easier to react to Foxy because I only needed to worry about closing one additional door. Now, I've been hiding this from you guys, but since we're so close to the end, I don't need to anymore. Remember those times that I said, wait till the end for a special surprise? Well, the surprise is the number of deaths I had. At this point of the run, I had 69 deaths. A nice number of deaths. A nice number to end on. I could call this a nice run, as long as I don't die again. This has secretly been my motivation to do all that I can in my power to avoid death. And it's the only reason why I was able to open my third eye and complete this level with a 1% power remaining. I had become truly locked in. Now, I only had one level left. And I could finally say that I had beaten every FNAF game in the series, except for FNAF World, and brag about it to Isa. But she already got annoyed about it, so I'm just gonna brag about it to you guys instead. So the last level in Help Wanted 2 is Office Job Interview. To beat this, you follow Circus Baby's instructions and play security guard with her to complete 3 separate minigames: red light, green light, hide and seek, and flashlight tag, which can be in any order during the night. Red light, green light, you have to use your flashlight to fend off a plush baby from walking to you and killing you from both the doorways and the vent all at once. The way to beat this in VR is to just swing your arms back and forth quickly, and none of the plush babies will be able to move at all. In desktop, it's a little harder to move between all the spots quickly, so I had to use the A and D keys to move back and forth, which works just well enough to keep me from dying. Hide and seek, you have to look through the cameras and find where the plush babies are hidden, then shock them, similar to the Minorinas and the Biddy Babs from Puppet Master. You can spot the plush babies from their small glowing eyes in the cameras or just by spotting their bodies, which if you have the cameras memorized, they should stick out enough that you can spot them. The last minigame is flashlight tag, which is definitely the trickiest minigame during the night. Plush babies will spawn in the hallways on either side of you, as well as inside the office in the top left corner, on the monitor, and even under the desk. Like the plush baby level from Help Wanted, you have to find them quickly with the flashlight and keep it on them for a couple of seconds to despawn them. If you don't find them quick enough, they kill you and you have to restart the entire night. And just like Help Wanted, they have a bunch of spawns that you just have to memorize by playing it yourself. The only saving grace on this version is that the flashlight doesn't run out, so you can actually keep it on the whole time. And in VR, you're also able to hear like specific locations that the plush babies spawn in, because like they laugh every time they spawn. But on desktop, I can only hear if it was on the left or the right side of me or in the office, which could be a challenge for me, but I think it'll be fine. So jumping into the level, I had to complete red light, green light first, which I was able to do by spamming A and D. Next was hide and seek, which is a pretty chill game overall, so I could relax a bit and get ready for the stress that was going to be flashlight tag. And stressful it was. I'm normally freaked out enough at this part that I'm going to mess up in VR, but I was pretty sure that I was going to die here, which would not only add to my timer and make stream that much longer, but more importantly, it would mess up my perfect death number. So, running off of pure adrenaline and the power of funny number, I was actually doing pretty well. Blasting plush baby after plush baby after plush baby. I did the unthinkable. After hours and hours of streaming over the course of 2 days, after stressful crashes of both my computer and Wi-Fi, I was finally able to say that I died. After all I've been through, after beating everything, after all I've done, and even locking in, I died. With a time of about 1 minute and 30 seconds into that task, which by my rough estimates takes about 2 minutes and 20 seconds, making me only 50 seconds away from finishing the marathon, I died. You know what this means? It breaks my heart as much as it does yours, but this number, the one I fought so hard to protect, must be put to rest.
Siento no haber podido llegar al final del vídeo. Me duele tener que dejaros a todos, pero prometedme que nunca me olvidaréis. Podéis hacerme sentir mejor si os suscribéis a Darryl y le dais a me gusta al vídeo. Por favor, hacedlo por mí. Os quiero a todos. Adiós.
So with my broken heart and my main source of motivation gone, I had to just settle with the fact that I can say that I completed a marathon after beating this level, and nothing else. So I hopped back into the game immediately, and this time I was given hide and seek first. This gave me some time to relax before being thrown back into flashlight tag. This time I was getting more lucky and was actually staying on top of the plush babies. This is great. I only have red light, green light after this, which is practically a guaranteed win. So getting a wave of relief after 2 minutes of flashing the plush babies, I was only seconds away from completing the task, allowing me to have completed an entire Fnaf marathon, all on my... I give up. How? Just... how? I should stop counting deaths and just like start counting crashes at this point, because like honestly, holy cow. So after reopening the game and raging a bit to myself, I went back into the level with a bit of excitement drained from my body and just wanting this torture to be over. This time I was given hide and seek first, then flashlight tag, and I think the game can sense when you're completely defeated, because I mean, look at my face. I was out of it at this point, but I was finally able to complete the 2 minutes and 20 seconds of absolute heck that this game forced upon me, leaving me with one task left, red light, green light, which I was able to complete, and I could finally greet Circus Baby and accept my well-deserved ice cream, finishing the level. Now, drumming up the last little bit of energy and excitement I had left, I moseyed on over to the stage to open my 6th present, completing my set and unlocking the last present, a fused Fast Force action figure. Since this was my last input, I took my time, which was 1 hour, 53 minutes, and 51 seconds for the unmasked section, giving me a time save of 7 minutes and 55 seconds there, and a total runtime of 3 hours, 39 minutes, and 29 seconds for Help Wanted 2, ending the run and the marathon as a whole. After spending nearly half my life loving these games, after years of playing them, and after months of preparation learning how to actually play and beat these games, I was finally able to say that I, Mr. Daryl, had finally completed my first ever Five Nights at Freddy's marathon. That's right. After stream breaking 4 times, splitting up my stream between 2 days, so I ended up with 6 separate streams when it should have been 1, having games crash on me 4 times, restarting my computer once, and having the VR crash or freeze on me 3 times, wasting over an hour on VR crashes alone, and live split resetting twice, I finished the marathon. Mixing my times together, I had a final run time of 18 hours, 15 minutes, and 24 seconds, with my total deaths being at 70. Get out of here, stinky. Boo, stinky number. Boo. And a total time of being alive, or being live rather, though, like, let's be honest, I was practically dead by the end of this. I had a total streaming time of 19 hours, 41 minutes, and 56 seconds, the longest stream I've done to date, and it was a ton of fun. Now, I didn't actually realize it at the time, but this was honestly like a really good time for me. I was expecting the run to take like 19 hours of gameplay, and that wasn't including my hour break that I took for eating that I was planning on. So I was expecting to be live for like 20 hours at the absolute best. And at worst, it was going to be 26 hours or more. Yeah, so like I made a really great accomplishment here. And like I took all the time and effort to complete like this really hard task. And like the payoff must feel amazing, right? Like I must be like celebrating and like jumping for joy and going like wahoo or something. Okay, you know what? Let's go check on streamer Daryl and let's go see the live reaction. Okay, well, that does it for stream. That does it for the 2-day long streaming thing I've done. Thank you all so much for being here. I'll just end it here. Love you all. Thank you for all of the follows during this 2-day streaming session. That's super kind of you guys. Appreciate it, and I love you all. All right, take care, everybody. I'll be live again sometime. I don't know when, but sometime. Okay. Goodbye. Love you all. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye-bye. That's right. With my eyes bagging and my buns sagging, I just did my outro and ended stream. No celebrations or anything. Like, I mean, I get that I was tired and stuff, but like, come on, man. Like, no speech or anything. Well, it's kind of awkward. Like, I just had this whole like build up and everything. Like the whole video was kind of leading up to this, and now I kind of look silly. It was actually like a really fun experience to learn how to beat all the different games. Learn like the mechanics of all the games is actually really fun. It's a fun process to see myself improve over the course of like the past couple months. It's also like kind of a cool experience getting to see like the past 10 years of development that this game has had. Like recently it was the 10th anniversary for Fnaf, as you guys know, and getting to see the past 10 years of games all back to back in one marathon is a pretty cool experience. Really awesome to see how much this series has grown over the years. So that was a pretty interesting thing to see. The only reason why I was able to power through this and to get through the whole stream is because of like the absolutely wonderful and a supportive and kind community that I have over on Twitch. So huge shout out to you guys again. I really love you guys. You guys are fantastic, and I'm very lucky to have a community like you. And to all of you who are watching right now on YouTube, I love you guys as well. Thank you so much for putting up with this long video. This is my first time trying to do this kind of video, so I hope it was good. I hope it was good enough. If it was confusing to watch, I'm sorry. I'll do better in the future. For those of you who want to stop by on to my Twitch channel, feel free to go and do that, but there's absolutely no pressure to do that. But you're, of course, always welcome there. And again, I am planning on doing a FNAF marathon every month or so, every month or two, just for fun from here on out, just because I loved doing it. So hopefully it doesn't crash next time I do one. So if you want to see that, you know, stop by my Twitch for that as well. And if you want to see the full marathon uncut without me talking on top of it, I will be posting that the day after this video is posted. And as a final heads up, during the month of October, I will be streaming a different scary game on my Twitch channel. So I will be posting those here as well as I do them. So keep that in mind. There will be a scary game posted every day on YouTube here for the month of October to get ourselves in like the spooky spirit, you know. But yeah, with all of that, make sure to take care of yourselves. Have a great morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you see this, and I love you all. Bye bye. Bye bye.